Namaste. My name is Durgananda Saraswati, and today I am going to talk to you about the 4 types of yoga. So let us first touch on the meaning of yoga. Yoga in itself is a Sanskrit word, meaning that it comes from ancient India. And the syllable yog means union. And the syllable a means the. So yoga together means the union. Now that can be quite puzzling. What does it mean by the union? Of course, in today's society, there's a lot of people talking about unity and union, and we can maybe imagine what that means. A union between all things, a union between all people and consciousness, etc. However, it goes a little bit more, it goes deeper than this, and it's also referring to a system in which there is a union between an observer and an object of observation or an object of meditation. So yoga in itself is some type of philosophy or system that teaches us how to meditate or teaches us the qualities that come with meditation, or how that we come to a state of meditation in which there is an object and an observer, and there's a union between these two. So what does that mean? It means that perhaps we have someone that is meditating on peace. So the object of meditation in that situation is peace. Maybe the object is love. Maybe the object is nothingness, such as in transcendental meditation. Maybe the object is attaining some goal, or maybe the object is a candle flame. Maybe the object is a guru's face, or the face of a saint, or any type of concept. So our object of meditation is that on which we are pondering, that on which we are attempting to understand and become one with. And so when we actually reach a state of oneness with this object of meditation, it's as if this concept or this object or this thing becomes an appendage to our body. It becomes a part of us. We adopt it. We nourish ourselves with it. So if I'm meditating on peace and eventually I reach the yoga between that object of meditation and myself, then I become peace. My identification, this I principle, the ego, is identified with peace. And so everything that I do, everything that I act upon, all of my words, all of my actions are peace. The same with love. If I become one with love, then every single action that happens in my life is an act of love. I become love. I am the embodiment of that principle because of my union through meditation. And so there are different systems which teach us how to reach this state of oneness with an object of meditation. And of those types, there are 4 main categories which we normally discuss. The first one is Hatha Yoga. The second one is Ashtanga Yoga. The third one is Bhakti Yoga, and the fourth one is Karma Yoga. So we will go through each of these individually and discuss them. So let us begin with Hatha Yoga. Hatha Yoga is the yoga that most people have heard of, if they've heard of yoga at all. And the word Hatha in itself is made up of two syllables, Ha and Tha. So Ha stands for the sun, and Tha stands for the moon. The system, the techniques of Hatha Yoga are designed to balance the sun and moon principles within the body of the individual, the body, mind, and spirit. There's a lot of advanced philosophy that goes into that, but we will just say for now that Hatha Yoga is comprised mostly of asana, or physical postures, the movements that you see in a normal yoga class, as well as pranayama, or the breathing techniques, prana meaning the life force, the vital bioplasmic energy, and ayama meaning extension. So pranayama is extension of our life force through breathing techniques. And the third component of Hatha Yoga is what is called shatkarmas. Shat meaning 6, and karma meaning action with attachment, or some kind of energy vortex or chakra, for example, around which there are cycles created because of a gravity. So shat karma, in fact, are designed to cleanse these karmas, and there are 6 of them. And they are cleansing techniques that we do with the body. One of the most basic of them, is what we call jalaneti, which we use to put salty water through the nose and clean out the nasal passage. This is one of the types of shatkarmas. There are other types as well, but we won't go into those today. So let us move on now to Ashtanga Yoga, the second type. Ashta meaning 8, and Anga like angles meaning folds. So Ashtanga Yoga is the 8-fold path. Ashtanga Yoga is also called Raj Yoga, or the Yoga of Kings, and it is the system developed by the sage Patanjali, who wrote the Yoga Sutras. The first 2 angles, or the first 2 folds of this Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga, are the Yama and Niyama. Now, Yama are the social codes or moral codes that are used to apply, the practitioner, the aspirant applies to the way in which he or she interacts with society, with the friends, with the family, with the people around. And there are 5 of those, 5 yama. Yama is the first fold. And the 5 are aparigraha, meaning non-greed, non-hoarding, a sense of sharing, a sense of partage. The second one is ahimsa, or non-violence. And this is not only vegetarianism, this is a sense of non-violence to all things, a sense of connection to all things, not wanting to hurt them, because we see that connection, that ecosystem, as being part of our own life. And there's no want, no desire to do violence on our own ecosystem and on our own life. So this is ahimsa. The third is brahmacharya. Brahmacharya is translated as the path to Brahman. And Brahman is, in Hindu mythology, pantheon, in Indian gods and goddesses, Brahman is used to stand for the entire universe, that which both has form and has no form at all, the female and male principle, the static and the dynamic. It is the all-encompassing. Brahman is like the universe, with all laws, all choice, everything. So brahmacharya is this path to Brahman. It is typically associated with discipleship of a young boy who has gone to live with a guru, or at least it was in ancient times. This is the brahmacharya phase of life, and it's associated with study. And during this phase, because the boy is spending all of his time studying and learning and developing his sense of character, he's not exposed to women, and traditionally he was celibate. So there are still many traditions which associate or even define brahmacharya as being celibacy. But this is not the full meaning of brahmacharya. Other traditions may associate it with sexual responsibility, not having promiscuous relationships, having intention and loving, affectionate relationships with our sexual partners. So this is brahmacharya. The next yama, or social code, is asteya, or non-stealing. So not obviously stealing from stores, not stealing from our friends, not stealing anything, but it can go very deep into not stealing life from another animal, not stealing something that does not belong to us, not stealing from someone by manipulating them into thinking that you are someone that you're not, having them trust you, and then taking something from them or having them give something to you when they believe that you are someone else. So non-stealing, these are all very deep concepts and can each of them be discussed at length, and we're just touching on them here. The last yama is what we call Satya, or truth, honesty. So, again, we can elaborate greatly on this, but it basically means to approach life with truth. And not only being truthful in what we are able to be conscious of, but really there are so many things which we don't even know. We're lying to ourselves. So being able to connect with that absolute truth, that truth which knows no bias, that truth which has no opinion, those things which are factual, and that which represents pure consciousness, unadulterated, unerred consciousness. This is Satya. Now the second fold of the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga system is the Niyama, and these are the codes for oneself. The Yama are the codes for society, and the Niyama are the codes for oneself. The first one of those is cleanliness. And so yes, we want to keep our apartment clean, we want to keep our body clean, we want to make sure to take showers, all of this. But it also can go much further into the mandala, or creating a sphere of existence in which everything is aligned in such a way that it's very efficient and the energies are set up in a channel, making grids in our homes, making an altar, making a magnet so that our attention becomes drawn and focused on certain things. Feng Shui is a system in China which arranges the home in a certain way to direct energies, to block energies, to increase the flow of energies in a certain way. In India, this is called Vastu Shastra, and there's a certain system for that as well. So this is Santosha, not Santosha, Shaucha, or cleanliness. The second one is Santosha, Santosha is meaning a contentment and a sense of well-being with all things and with all situations, and recognizing the beauty in everything, recognizing that not necessarily that everything happens for a reason, but really recognizing that we are on a journey, that there are bumps in the road, and whether things are thick or thin, whether things are blossoming and full of love or they're turbulent times, we have a sense of contentment and gratitude for that which is happening to us and the experience that we are having and that we are living as sentient beings. This is the meaning of Santosha. The third of the niyama is Tapasya. Now, Tapasya is translated as austerities, and it can be interpreted as restrictions that we put on our life, discipline that we have, a sense of graveness, a sense of seriousness. And some of the great austerities mentioned in some of the mythologies talk about sages going into the up to their neck in a lake during the entire winter, and then during the entire summer standing in the sun on one leg, and doing this repeatedly for 100 years until they gain great ascetic powers. So austerity is also associated with asceticism, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. We can apply it in our daily life through restraining ourselves and promoting our spiritual growth by making conscious choices. By not drinking, for example, by not eating meat, by sitting down and actually taking the time to meditate or to chant our mantra. This is the meaning of austerity, seriousness in our spiritual path. Number 4 is Swadhyaya, and Swadhyaya is, again, self-study. It is taking the time to actually do our practice, taking the time to read, to search for answers, to do Jnana Yoga or search within ourselves, to know ourselves, to eventually connect ourselves to that divine principle. And yes, it's associated with study. The final niyama is called Ishvara Pranidhana, which means surrender to the cosmic will. Ishvara is one of the names of the Supreme Consciousness or the Supreme God. So Ishvara Pranidhana means a sensation of just surrender, of letting go, of doing what we call in French a lâcher prise, and just knowing that there is some divine principle out there and that there is some kind of a plan or not a plan, but just that we are cradled in this, in the arms of the universe, and we can surrender ourselves to receive the abundance. This is the meaning of Ishvara Pranidhana, not being in a state of worry, just really knowing that we are fulfilled and we will be fulfilled and we are taken care of, and just surrender to the cosmic will. And so that is the first 2 folds of the Ashtanga Yoga of Patanjali. The next 2 folds of the Patanjali Ashtanga Yoga system are very similar. In fact, they are the exact same thing as the first 2 parts of the Hatha Yoga system. This is the Asana, or the physical postures, and the Pranayama, or the breathing techniques. So now we have Yama, Niyama, Asana, and Pranayama. And these constitute the initial phases of the Patanjali Yoga system. The next one is Pratyahara. And Pratyahara is involved with removing the sensory stimulation, all of those stimulations that can distract the mind, that can distract from the spiritual practice. Because In the next phases, we go into an active state of meditation, of attempting to meditate. The difference between Hatha Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga in this sense is that Hatha Yoga just has Asana, Pranayama, and Shatkarmas involved, and there's no system which attempts to direct the mind or give any guidance for the mind. It says you sit in this posture, you do these breathing techniques, you make sure to keep your body clean, and it will induce spontaneous meditation. Now, in the Patanjali system, we have the final 3 stages are steps of meditation. So we have number 6 is what we call dharana. Dharana is concentration. So we choose an object. Our object is peace. We choose our object as a candle flame, and we begin to concentrate on it. In the next step, dhyana is the bow. So we imagine our mind as being a bow, like a bow and arrow. And we are bending that bow back and bringing it into a state in which eventually the mind is focused on the point of meditation. So we begin to enter into a state of meditation in which we may experience a light trance. We may begin to really experience union with the object, but it doesn't stay for more than a few moments. The mind will still waver. It will come in and out of this meditative trance state, and so there's not a full union. The final state of the Patanjali yoga system is called samadhi, and sama is translated as equal or equilibrium, and dhi is the mind. So it's talking about equal mind. This is the state of yoga. This is the state of a union in which the mind has stopped all forms of distraction and it is completely absorbed in its object of meditation, and there's identification with the object. Now, going back to Pratyahara, now it might make a little bit more sense. And this is where we begin to remove those stimulations. We maybe make choices not to go out with our friends. We maybe make choices to eliminate spicy foods or onions or garlic from our diet. We may make choices to wear less conspicuous clothing so that we become more internal and less focused on the external world. And this is Pratyahara. So we have Yama, the social codes, Niyama, the personal codes, Asana, the postures, Pranayama, which is the breathing techniques. And through Asana and Pranayama, Pratyahara becomes spontaneous almost. And so it's debatable whether Pratyahara in itself is a spontaneous occurrence or if it is something which we choose to do. It's a little bit of both, in fact. But once we begin practicing these asana and pranayama, we begin to make our body into a machine which can begin pumping and develop momentum. And with this momentum, the next stages follow spontaneously without much effort. So pratyahara is the sensory deprivation, the dharana is the concentration, and then dhyana is the bending of the mind. We begin to meditate, and then the samadhi is the identification, is the state of union. Certain types of samadhi, there are many types of samadhi. One of them we could call Zen. Zen is a state in which the ego no longer exists. Nirvana is the same thing. So the objects of meditation may be nothingness or dissolution of the ego. And so these are certain types of samadhi based on the type of object of meditation which is used in the Patanjali system or the system of Raja Yoga. Now let us move to the other types of yoga, the other two types. Bhakti Yoga is translated as the yoga of devotion. So in Bhakti Yoga is something that does not require anything, no practice at all, except for a sensation of devotion. So the idea with yoga is that there is a union or a communion with some entity. And in Bhakti Yoga, the object with which we are communing is normally some kind of a supreme higher principle. It could be a god or a saint or a guru, but in some situations it may be physics or the universe in a rational way. So even atheists are devotional. They're just devotional in a much different way than people that have a faith in some kind of a God quality or God theory. So the yoga of devotion, we have communion with this principle which we hold as divine automatically through our devotion to that principle. And the thing is that is not something that is mental. Devotion in itself is inspirational. Devotion is something that lives in our heart space, in our chest. It's something that we feel intensely. It is, it's not something that can be rationalized. It's something that we feel inherently within us and that we're born with. It's something that we inherit through our birth, that and perhaps even through our social situation and through growing up, that causes us to experience some intense dedication for that principle. But it goes beyond a dedication, because dedication in itself requires discipline. Devotion is something that is just there naturally, and it is different than religion. There can certainly be intense devotion in religion, but they are not one and the same thing. So when there is a full devotion to some idea or principle or object, again, we have union between the object and the observer. And we talk about invocation or evocation, for instance. If there is some kind of a devotion to a god or a goddess, for example, that becomes so pregnant within the individual that eventually the individual experiences that same vibrational quality of that god or goddess and becomes one with that principle. So this is the yoga of devotion. The final type of yoga is called Karma Yoga. And karma, like we said earlier, is an action with attachment. So the yoga of karma is that system which we use to detach from our attachments. Many people associate karma yoga with seva yoga or service, but this is a very incomplete definition of what karma yoga means. Karma yoga means really approaching life with a sense of surrender, with a sense of detachment, and with a sense of not acting in order to have some fruits come back to you as a result of your labor. It's about acting in the moment and being completely absorbed in the moment and relishing in our actions to the degree that we may have some type of high level of sensation just from washing the dishes, just from sweeping the floor. We do it with so much intention and with so much recognition of beauty and gratitude that we're not worried about having the dishes actually washed and put away. That's not why we're doing it. We're doing it because we are actually enjoying the sensation of the water on our hands, of the plate on our fingers. We begin to really experience our body as an organ that is sensing everything around us with very high level of detail. And this is the true nature of Karma Yoga. As well as karma is a type of action, there are different types of action. There's dharma, which is an action based on our role in life, based on our what the laws of the universe say that we are to do, based on our destiny, which I hesitate to use that word because that's not exactly the right word, but it's based on our role in life. Dharma is action based on our role. We also have kriya, which is a different type of action, which is practical action used to achieve a certain result. Now, karma is a type of action, and we can go into detail about the laws of the universe, about the laws of physics here, and talk about with every action there is an equal and opposite reaction. And so in Karma Yoga as well, by being detached from things, we allow an unobstructed flow of exchange to happen. So we give, and we're not attached to the things that we are giving. And so we allow ourselves to be open to receiving as well. And so in Karma Yoga, there is a blissful, steady, rhythmic flow of energy that is happening in our life. Now, we have finished the discussion on the 4 types of yoga. And I just want to finish by mentioning that Tantra in itself is based in yoga. And the foundation of Tantra, which means expansion and liberation, expansion of the consciousness to have a communion with the divine. The foundation of Tantra is Bhakti and Karma Yoga. So I'll discuss Tantra and the significance of Bhakti and Karma Yoga in a next video. Thank you very much for being with us this evening, and I hope to see you again. Write me an email. My email address is durgananda.saraswati@limitlessyoga.org, and you can find that address in the text beneath the video. So I hope to hear from you. I hope to hear your questions, your comments, and yeah, it's about building community around the world, and I hope to connect with you. So thank you for watching, and have a nice day or evening or afternoon wherever you are. Hari Om Tat Sat, and Namaste, blessings and Prem to you.